Today, we are going to talk brand strategy, this girl's favorite topic ever. I'm going to give you my proprietary 4C method to defining the foundation of your brand that you build everything else on top of. Hello, my name is Kate Putnam. I'm the psychology-driven brand strategist. I'm so excited that you are here. Hit that subscribe button. The little bell will tell you whenever I publish a new video. Lots of exciting stuff coming up soon. Back in the day, I used to work for a traditional media company, a radio group in Tennessee. I went to work for a digital agency that grew to $1 million in just over a year after that. These days, I help entrepreneurs change the world with what they know. We do this by discovering their innate brand advantage so that they can grow their business and impact more people. So through all of this experience that I've had in the last decade and a half, and then now with working with my students through my Clarity Code program, one-on-one, or my brand new brand students, I have worked behind the scenes of over 500 brands, which has given me the honor and the privilege to see what works and see what doesn't work and what matters and what doesn't matter. So I've developed this 4C process that I now teach to my one-on-one clients who pay between 10 and 15K to work with me, or for a lesser amount, you can join my brand new brand program and learn this exact process as well. But let's talk about the steps that you need to take to build an unforgettable brand. The biggest mistake that I see people making is that they skip straight to the visuals. They're like, design me a logo, I want me some colors and some fonts, and I want to look really good. But it doesn't work. Or even if it does, even if you have a really baller brand identity, if it doesn't speak to its core to your business, if it's not strategic, you're gonna outgrow it in a year or two. It leads to this like constant rebranding process where you're just redesigning your business every so often because you haven't taken the time to figure out what the foundation of your brand strategy is. I don't even want to consider how much money and people's time that is wasted on creating brands that just don't speak to the ideal clients, whether that's with copywriting or design, because you haven't done this work. So do the work first, then you get a brand that is timeless, that works, and that actually works to attract your ideal clients to you. Okay, let's get into it. I organize the process into the 4 C's, and the first one is character. Character is incredibly important. David Ogilvy, the founder of the Ogilvy agency, which is humongous and intensely inspiring to me, he's quoted that products, like people, need to have a personality to stand out in the market. And I'm paraphrasing, so I apologize for that, but essentially you have to resonate with people on a human level if you want them to pay attention to you. So the key to figuring out your brand character is 2 parts. You have to know what your personality is. I use brand archetypes to help define this. It makes it a lot easier. It just gives us like a common language that we can talk about your personality with, makes it more concrete and tangible. So are you caring, or are you rebellious? Are you entertaining or super driven and ambitious? All of these are decisions that make up the character of your brand. And then on the other side of character, you need to define what your unique point of view is. So what do you believe as a brand that's going to get people to stand up and pay attention to you, that's going to draw in the people that you want to work with and repel the people that aren't a good fit for you? So character is personality and point of view. The next C in the 4 C's is your brand commitment. So literally, what are you going to be selling to whom? You have to figure this out. You cannot build a business if you don't know what you're going to sell. So you have to start somewhere. You have to decide what you're going to sell, whether that's a product, service, course, idea, whatever, nonprofit, whatever you're selling, and then who is your most ideal market. And picking your ideal market is kind of like dating in the beginning. Like, you don't really know. You write out that list of 100 different attributes that you hope that that person has, but then once you actually start dating people, you realize that, okay, maybe one person doesn't have my entire list, but I really like this one. Or I thought I was gonna like this person, they're really good on paper, but we just don't click. So not that type of person, but I do like this type of person. Again, it's like dating. So you have to have an ideal list, and that you'll refine that over time. The third C is your brand credibility. Why should we believe you? What proof of results do you have that your product or service does something for your ideal clients? Do you have testimonials? Do you have third-party reviews? Do you have famous friends? It matters. Human psychology, it matters. If you can show up with somebody who's famous in your industry, like, oh, that person must know what they're talking about because they know so-and-so. Or maybe you just have implied credibility. So like, your design is impeccable. You know exactly what you're talking about. You're very articulate. And if this is the case, then people just naturally trust you because you seem to know what you're talking about. Or maybe you have degrees or certifications. What are all of those elements of credibility that build up the logic? So you're going to appeal to people on an emotional level with your personality and point of view, but you need to back it up with some credibility on the logic level so that people feel good about buying from you. Lastly, the fourth C is the context that your brand lives in. And there's two levels of context that I usually focus on. First is the market level context. So who else is serving your ideal client in this market? Who could be a substitution for your business? And how are you different, not better, from that market level? And then second, underneath that level, is the cultural context. Think about it this way. You're operating your business in a very specific time and place. If our world went to hell in a handbasket next week and there was a zombie apocalypse, chances are you would not be running the same business in the same way. So think about the trends or the forces, like what's actually changing in the world right now? What forces affect things in your business? How do people perceive in general your industry? What role are you playing? That's all plays into the cultural context. To hopefully make this more clear, let me give you 3 examples of 3 very well-known brands and their basic character, commitment, credibility, and context. So let's start with Nike. Their character is the hero. Like, they are inspiring everyday athletes to do things that are hard, to overcome challenges. Their commitment has changed over the years, but when they first started, they were really focused on selling shoes. So they're selling shoes to joggers or shoes to basketball players. That was their commitment. Their credibility is that they have celebrities like Michael Jordan who are helping them sell their shoes. They're representing the brand. They also spent a lot of time and resources into developing the waffle soles of their shoes and making them lighter and more technically sound. So those are their credibility elements. And then on the cultural level, they came to market when jogging was just becoming a thing. It hasn't always been a thing. It used to be kind of super weird, but jogging was kind of taking over as like a popular exercise modality. And then also there was this culture of like inner city kids playing basketball who aspired to like get out of the city and become famous. Like, they see Michael Jordan and other athletes doing. Okay, second big brand example would be Apple. So their character has actually changed a bit over time. So when they first started, it was more of this maverick. If you remember their 1984 commercial, they were revolutionizing the industry, where PCs were like this big government or like big brother type of perception. They were the small guys. They were doing really different things. Over time, as they've become a massive company, they've evolved into more of the magician. So they are paving the way with new technology. They are the tastemakers. They're literally changing our lives with the things that they're inventing. So that has shifted over time. Their commitment is they're selling technology, computers, iPads, iPods, all of those good things. Their credibility is actually design. Now, obviously, there's way more depth to all of these case studies. I'm just trying to give you an overview of examples so that you can start to see how these 4 forces have impacted the biggest brands that we know. Okay, so final example, Lululemon. Their character is a mix of magician and girl next door. So it's all about like building community and then transformation through inner power. Their commitment, they are selling athleisure clothing, generally to millennials, right? To like young professionals. They started off with yoga and they've now branched off into other directions. But originally it was for this yoga movement, which we'll talk about in the culture piece. Interestingly, their main credibility element is this element of community. So they have been organizing like classes, and like whenever you see the Lululemon logo on somebody's lower back, it's reinforcing this idea that it's a popular brand and that it's chosen by people who are active, who are professional, etc. Almost a lot of their like social media content is user generated. So it's all reinforcing this idea of community within their brand. And then lastly, interestingly, I just listened to an interview with the CEO on how I built this, one of my favorite podcasts ever. And he talked about noticing 2 things in the market. So 1, yoga is becoming more and more popular. Actually, 3 things. 2, there were all of these women, young women, that were now going to college. So he realized that when they got out of college, they were going to be this like group of young professional women who are waiting longer to have kids and have babies, who are making their own money, who are buying stuff. And then third, at the time, like you wore like your rattiest, grossest 10-year-old t-shirts to the gym. But chances are there were some people who maybe wanted to look better when they were at the gym. So those 3 like cultural forces that were changing or that had the possibility for change really poised the company for rapid growth and for success. So I hope this helps you define what your 4 C's are. Like I said in the beginning, if you need any help with this, I walk you through this process in much more depth in either my brand new brand group program or with my one-on-one clients in the Clarity Code program. And only once you do this foundational, strategic core work, then you'll be ready to figure out the voice of your brand, your visuals, and your visibility elements. If you skip right to the end, you're going to be missing out on a huge opportunity to build a brand that really matters to people and that they're naturally attracted to. So happy branding. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Please subscribe to the channel. I have more valuable videos about brand building and business growth coming up soon. See you guys next time.